you are doing well. As you see me right now, I am on the 2021 Ninja 1000 SX. And I am excited about this bike. I did a garage review of the bike not too long ago. Thought I would continue the discussion and give you my impressions of the ride quality and talk a little bit more about this bike. I had an opportunity to ride the 2022 a couple of days ago. Actually, it was like a week ago. And I can honestly say that other than the modifications that I've made to this one, there is no physical difference in the feel of the bike compared to the 21, even though there were a couple of tweaks and adjustments. The bike, when I'm sitting on it, feels exactly the same. Same kind of performance, same acceleration for the most part. A lovely bike. So, 2021 Kawasaki Ninja 1000. Now this bike, if you looked at my garage review, has the side bags, panniers, whatever you want to call it, on either side. I leave those on most of the time, unless I'm really going to want to ride sporty, which isn't that often. Then I'll pull them off. You know, if I were to do something bad with the bike, those are $900 or whatever, $800 right there. So wouldn't want those to be harmed in any way, as well as myself and my body and everything else. Okay, what else did I get done on this bike so you don't have to look at my my garage review? I have the full Akrapovic exhaust. So actually have the pipes from coming out of the engine, the headers, right into the exhaust. No catalytic converter, nothing. I also have a K&N filter that I added. So a little more airflow. How much does that improve the performance of the bike? Bet you it adds a couple horsepower. I really did it more for looks and for weight savings. This exhaust is so much lighter than the stock exhaust. That's mainly why I did it, and the sound. Now, if you just get the Akrapovic slip-on, you can get that through Kawasaki when you buy the bike. You can get it as an add-on when you buy it, or later they have, and it actually has a little sticker on the side that says Ninja 1000, which is basically, I don't know that they made it any different, but they definitely put that tag on there. It is a little different, obviously, because of the mounting bracket and stuff, so they had to make it specific for this bike. But I got that when I bought the bike, and then I added the full exhaust from Akrapovic about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that. So got that done. Now, the Ninja does not have, as far as I know, the ability to flash the ECU. You know, they always try to hack it and break it and stuff, so as of this moment, I'm not aware of it. Nor does anybody make a computer that you can put into the bike with a map that works with the bike. From what I understand, as long as you don't go too crazy with things, the computer will adjust to the things that you add. Like I said, I'm sure there's some limitations, and I might have overdone it, who knows, with the full exhaust. I don't know. The only thing I notice that's different is I do get some popping on hard acceleration and shifting, which actually sounds kind of cool. But I don't know if that means that the fuel mixture isn't exactly right. But from everything I see and have read, I should be fine. I haven't gone too crazy with anything. New exhaust and air filter, and the computer is keeping up with it. So hopefully that's true. Also have the Corbin front and back seat. Right now I just have the front seat on. I have the rear seat cowl covering the back area where a passenger seat would normally go. Just like the look of it better, honestly. But the Corbin seats are great. This one isn't fully broken in. This bike only has 329 miles, if you can see my display right now. It takes, I would say, more like 1,200 miles to break in a Corbin seat. You know, they say 1,000 miles, but I've got a lot of Corbin seats, and it's a little more like 1,200 to 1,500 miles. It feels like, now it's settled in for me. So I did that, got the accessory outlet in the front and the USB outlet underneath the rear seat. Added some frame sliders and tidied up the rear end a little bit by getting a fender eliminator from Yoshimura. Works great. It uses the original lights. I am probably going to go LEDs eventually, probably next year. I've put a lot of money into bikes this year, so I'm slowing down a little bit mid-summer, and maybe over the winter or next spring I'll do a few things. Now I'm not going to do the suspension on this. The suspension is actually really good. Usually I get an aftermarket suspension on my sport bikes, but I don't need to do that on this one. This actually works really well. It has preload, and on the back shock it has rebound adjustment. On the front it has compression and rebound adjustments for each fork, which is kind of neat. There's adjustments on either side. Each one affects compression, and one is rebound. So suspension is really good. Don't plan on changing that. I think the only thing I'm gonna, I think I told you I added frame sliders, the Pug frame sliders, and the Freestream touring windscreen, which is a little bit taller than the stock windscreen, but because of its shape and design, it shoots air over my head, which is great. And there's a lever that allows you to adjust the angle of your windscreen on the Ninja, which is nice. I had a 2000, I want to say 14 Ninja, and it had like 3 adjustments. This one allows for 5, I think, 4 or 5 different adjustments. What I'm saying is positions, I guess, in the adjustment. But because I have the V-Stream and it sits down a little bit, the very top adjustment, meaning the one that puts the windshield more straight up, it runs into the fairing of the bike. I will never have my V-Stream straight up and down, which is basically what it would need to be in order to do that. I will almost always have it on the other position, so it doesn't bother me, but just know if you're going to get a V-Stream in a Ninja 2000, or a Ninja 2000, that'd be awesome. A Ninja 1000, that the topmost setting it will rub against the fairing. I don't know that it'll do any damage. It just kind of sits right on it, but I'm guessing if the wind is moving the windscreen a lot, it'll probably rub against the fairing and might cause some damage, so just be aware of that. Okay, other than that, I haven't really done much. Oh yeah, I added the heated grips, which doesn't really matter on this bike because I rarely ever ride this thing in weather that'll get cold, but as it gets closer to winter and it gets colder and I ride in like September or October and it gets a little chilly, it might be nice just to have those heaters on, keep my hands cool or warm. Okay, so that's what I've done with the bike. I can tell you right now, even just riding it right now, I'm 250 pounds, a little overweight. I could probably lose about 25-30 pounds. I'm working on that, don't judge me. This bike feels good. I think I'm kind of at the max, though. You wouldn't want to be too much heavier. I'm also 6 foot tall, 32-inch inseam. I don't know that you would really want to be much taller or heavier for this bike. Could it handle it? Sure. I just think what you're going to do is you're going to put too much pressure on the suspension, the stock suspension. And, you know, if you really want to have the most fun with the bike, you don't want to put too much pressure on that. Unless you're going to get an aftermarket, then you're good. Also, the height. You know, sport bikes are really, honestly, you know, I know people that are taller than me ride sport bikes all the time. And I know this is a more touring-oriented sport bike, but when you're really tall and you're leaning, and it can be really uncomfortable. I got a little bit of traffic here. I'm only going to be on this road to that light, though. Like right now, I'm just standing still, so the position for me is just right. If I were a couple of inches taller, I think I would feel like I'm peering over the front of the bike. I have a friend of mine who's 5'10", I think, and he rode this a couple of weeks ago, and he looks like he's in the best position for this bike. And he has a 30-inch inseam, I think, so a little shorter legs, which means he's, you know, his triangle is a little more open, you know, between the foot peg and the seat, and you know, just how you're seated. I just think it's, you know, you're a little more open, a little more comfortable. With a 32-inch seam, my knees are pretty well bent. I wouldn't say totally uncomfortable. I mean, I'm fine with it. You know, I stretch out a little bit when I'm riding, and I stop a little bit. But so if you're like 5'9", 5'10", in a 30-inch inseam, I think you would really love the seating position on this bike. A little shorter, a little taller, you're going to have some issues. Can you do it? Of course, absolutely. And there are rocks coming out of this truck, so I'm going around him. Wow. There were literally rocks flying out of that truck and hit me right in the windscreen of my helmet. Wear your helmet, people. Wear your helmet. Okay. So, seating position, really comfortable. The smoothness of this engine is the same as my Versys 1000. It's beautiful. Very responsive. And, but not too responsive. It's not super bike level responsive, which is okay, actually, for this bike. I like it. It's definitely more responsive than a touring bike or a cruiser. But, you know, I love this bike. I love the speed shifter. I don't really shift down with the speed shifter. I do shift up all the time with it. Unless I'm going super slow. You know, if I'm just kind of crawling around a neighborhood, you know, you're not really getting the revs up enough to be able to use the speed shifter effectively. Will it do it? Yeah, but it'll be really clunky. Speed shifter, love it. The brake feel, really good. You know, this bike has, you know, ABS, traction control, it has all that kind of stuff. You could turn that off, and you could fully turn it off, which is nice, if you really want to do some real sport riding and don't want those protections. I leave them on almost all the time. In fact, the only time I've ever turned it off is when I wanted to play with wheelies a little bit. Please don't do that at home. I'm not advocating that you do wheelies. I just wanted to try it and see if I could do it on this bike, and you have to turn all that stuff off. So it's a couple of settings in the computer, and you're good to go. But 99.9% of the time, that stuff just stays on. I don't adjust it, mess with it, nothing. The technology is really cool. I don't use the app. There's an app you can get on your phone that connects to the bike and allows you to do some things with it. You know, I don't want to be distracted by it. I don't need it for what I do. And I actually prefer distraction-free driving. I don't need to see any vital statistics of my bike. I just want to focus on riding and being safe. Now, right now, as you can see, I'm doing about a little over 60 miles an hour. Speed limit here is 55. It's fine. Keeping up with traffic. I'm gonna go a little faster later, but this bike, I'm just one-handing it right now, giving my left wrist a little bit of a break. But you know, if I set the cruise control on this, I could sit like this for a long time. You know, stretch out my legs every now and then, stand up on the pegs every now and then, just allow the blood to flow a little better. But I feel very comfortable. This bike is very nimble, even with the bags on it. Now at speed, now when I'm talking about at speed, when you're at 75, 80 miles an hour, which you can do on a highway, or if you want to be a hooligan, you can do it on streets, regular streets, you'll start feeling some of the resistance of those bags that stick out on either side if you have them. So a recommendation I have for you, if you're going to get the panniers or the saddlebags or whatever you want to call them, and you're planning on doing some really high speed stuff, I would say above 80, 85. Don't ask me how I know, I will deny everything. You will feel some resistance, and it actually shakes the bike a little bit. Is it uncomfortable? Nah, not really. I mean, will it be a little scary the first time you feel it? Maybe. You know, it depends on you. It didn't for me, but I definitely felt it. I felt the resistance and kind of the lack of aerodynamics of the bags. I mean, I know they shape them as best they can. Now, if you decide to go with the trunk instead, I'm not sure how that will feel. Or if you decide on a third-party trunk with the saddlebags, I'm not sure how that will feel. Now, your body kind of protects what's right behind it a little bit, right? So I don't know that it would have the same kind of resistance or the same feel. But just know that the saddlebags, you know, I'm sure they're not anticipating you're going to be doing 100 miles an hour all the time with the saddlebags, but hey, we're on a Ninja 1000. It can easily do 100 miles an hour. So anyway, if you're going to do that and you don't need the saddlebags, just take the saddlebags off. It's pretty easy. The first few times the bags are a little rough to pull off because they're not quite worn in with the little mechanism, but take them on and off 10 times or so, it'll be fine. Pop right off, leave them at home, go do your fun riding, come back, clean the bike, put them back on. Easy peasy. But like I said, most of my riding I'm not going to be doing that, so I just leave the bags on. You know, some of my younger friends are like, oh, you should take them off, it looks like an old man sport bike. I don't care. I am an old man on a sport bike. Let people think that. The price point of this bike is actually really good. It's very competitive. Other bikes in this segment, I still think this is a good value. I forgot who made kind of one that is really a direct competitor of this bike. Is it Kawasaki? Is it? I'll put it in the comments or something like that if I remember. But they have the bags, and you know, I've seen reviews on it. Oh man, I wish I remember the name of them, but I don't off the top of my head. It's the same. It's a GSX, I think, not the GSXR. It's a GSX. Who makes that? Yamaha? Kawasaki? No, not Kawasaki. Suzuki? Maybe it's Suzuki. Sorry. That shows you how much I know about bikes that I don't own. And a lot of the reviews say that it's a good competitor, but can't match the technology, comfort, feel, and refinement of the Ninja 1000 for a sport touring bike. There are a couple of others in this segment, not quite the same as this one and that one I'm talking about. But this one, you know, if kind of an untrained eye, it looks like a super sport bike. It's shaped like one, and I know that's why they made it like this. But it's not. It really isn't. Look at a super sport bike and ride it, and then ride this one, and you'll see that this one is geared, mechanically geared, and just overall geared for more touring than sport riding. But I can keep up with the sport bikes, and I have done that on this bike. The Super Sports. You know, a Busa or something like that, no. But, you know, other leader bikes, you know, I'll be right there with them. You know, it depends on the rider, of course, and their abilities, but for the most part, I can keep up with 600s, 1000s, and maybe not beat them, but I'll be right there with them. They won't see me too far in their mirrors, too far back. What else? Maneuverability, hitting curves, hitting turns, hitting the twisties. This bike has no issue. It inspires such confidence when you're riding it and you're doing those kinds of things. It's hard to explain unless you ride sport bikes that way. I don't quite knee drag. I don't wear gear that would allow that to be effectively, but I get close in some of the hard turns and twisties. You know, I took the California Superbike School class. I've ridden track events for 15 years. Rode at the advanced classes on all of those, or whatever, the advanced levels. It's been a while, but done it. Spent $2,000 a weekend on tires and maintenance on my bikes, and ridden Ducatis and Gixxers, Ninjas. The Gixxer 750 was my favorite track bike of all time. Missed that bike. And the comfortability and maneuverability of this bike can match those track bikes any day of the week. In fact, for a stock suspension and not really much modification other than the exhaust, sorry, I just want to get in front of all those people. No sense in being on a Ninja and being behind any kind of traffic for any period of time. It is just very, it gives a lot of confidence. I have no problems leaning in, putting my head where the mirror should be when I take the mirrors off, if I do that kind of thing. I have not felt like I would lose control on this bike at all. Now, caveat to that is, this has some technology that helps that a little bit compared to some of the older bikes that I had, like the early 2000s, mid 2000s sport bikes. You know, this has ABS traction control. Now you can tune that down a little bit, and even on a track day, what I would do is leave it on, but keep it at the lowest level. You know, it just helps the overall comfortability and confidence giving that a bike can give when you're doing 90 to 120 around a turn, and you need the tires and the suspension and everything to be on point. And this bike does that. If you want to push it, it will handle it. And if you want to take it up a notch, get yourself a aftermarket suspension if you really want to, and really see what this bike can do. So performance, cornering, it wants to turn. It doesn't want to go straight like I'm doing right now, although it does it fine. It's a great bike. Alright, so who is this not for? If this were your only bike, and I mentioned this in my other, I think in my garage review, if this were your only bike and you did kind of the average riding, you know, you went out on the weekends and maybe you brought it to work every once in a while, This is a great bike for that. If you're gonna go touring, you do 300-400 miles, and you don't want one of the old man tourers, this will handle it. You can do it on this. Like I said earlier, if you're a little taller and a lot shorter, maybe not. I don't know. I want to be comfortable and confident when I put my feet down. And if I can only put one foot down, I think I'm a little too short for that bike. And if you're too tall, you get too much wind resistance and stuff like that. So if you're, I would say, between 5'9" and 6'1", with anywhere from, I want to say, 30 to 32-inch inseam, or 29 to 33 maybe, you're pushing it. Then I think this is a great bike, sport bike for you. If you're going to have a passenger a lot, maybe not. I would get a tour cruiser. You know, if you're going to be doing 200-300 miles with somebody stuck to your back, you know, I don't know. Even in my 20s and 30s, I don't know if I would like that either. If you want something that's comfortable, you can take around town, it's a great looking bike, somewhat easy to maintain. The air filter's kind of weird, you got to lift up the gas tank, but yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can do it. Changing oil's easy, doing your own brake jobs and stuff, not too bad. It's pretty good. Smooth bike. This is your bike. If you want a sport bike, smooth, can do some touring, but yeah, you can hit the turns when you really need to. Ninja 1000 is your bike. Okay, who is this not for? Somebody who's super tall or super short or super heavy. If you're over 255 pounds or so, you're pushing it. Don't ride this bike if you're 300 pounds. Don't do it. If you're 6'2" and 300 pounds, go get yourself a Harley Limited, or like an Ultra Limited, or the Road Glide, something big. Even a Gold Wing, you know, get a bigger seat that allows you to push you back a little bit, gives you some room. Something like that. Big cruiser, big tourer. But if you're, you know, 175 to 250, you know, 5'10", 5'11", this is your bike. It is perfect. You're perfect for it. 30-inch inseam. Oh man, those are the days I wish I were a little bit shorter when I'm riding bikes like this, because it really is more comfortable. I can go longer distances and for longer times. You know, if I had a 30-inch inseam, was a couple inches shorter and maybe 25 pounds lighter, man, I'd ride this like I ride my Gold Wing. Okay, so if you're too short, too tall, too heavy, maybe the Ninja 1000 isn't for you. Someone who wants an easygoing ride most of the time, does a lot of around the town stuff, this bike, I don't know that this is really designed for that. You know, price wise, it's not too bad. I forgot what I paid for this. Was it like around 12K or something like that? New? Somewhere around there, plus whatever you put on the bike, you know. I don't know, if I'm just going to be going around town, I'm going to use a cruiser of some sort. Small cruiser. Not a big one, like a 750, 1300, 1100, somewhere around there, you know. Something like that. Nice and easy. Put somebody on the back and you're fine. Take little short trips, 50 miles, you know. This bike is really designed for some, you know, speed driving, you know, over 40, over 50, you know, cruising around, zigzagging through traffic to get to work, or to get where you're going. I'm in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, and this would be a fun bike to just take downtown Chicago. You know, it's about a 45-minute ride. Nice and quick on the highway, or take some side roads, be fun, hit the lake, park the bike, chill out on the lake, Lake Michigan a little bit, head back on and head home. Grab a bite to eat. This is a great bike for that. If I were going to do a trip that's, you know, maybe the destination is about 300 miles, 400 miles away, this is a good bike for that. If you want to do something much longer, this isn't your bike. don't get this bike if you're going to be trying to do 500 miles a day. It can do it, absolutely, but it's just the ergonomics, as good as they are, I don't know that I would do that. Could I? Yes. Would I? Nope. Absolutely not. Especially if I have other bike options like I do. This would not be the bike for that. So, my overall review of the Ninja is that this is my favorite sport bike and my favorite sport touring bike I have ever owned. Now, I've had, like I said, I've had Ducatis, I've had Gixxers, I've had other bikes that are very well tuned, extra suspension, and did a lot of work on them. Even if I were in my 30s, I would take this every day as a daily rider, not as a track bike, okay? I would not use this as a track bike, but as an everyday rider, normal everyday guy or gal, wanting to do some sport riding, get this one. Even if you're in your 20s, I'm telling you, because if you're going to go riding with your pals, you're going to be, putting some miles on it. Get a bike that's comfortable, but that can... I remember the VFR. Okay, I have to take back what I said. The Honda VFR, the later ones, the 2000s. I had a 2007 anniversary edition, red, white, and blue. Those were actually my favorite sport touring bikes. Not as powerful as the Ninja, but man, love that bike. They don't make those anymore, so now the Ninja is my favorite sport touring bike. And this one can handle really pushing some of the sport riding better than the VFR. But the VFR, that I could do 500 miles in a day pretty easily. I'm talking about the 750. Even the 1300, the newer ones that they made near the end of their life. They had a 1300 version. Never got to ride one. I test drove one, but never got to own one or have one for any long period of time. This is the bike. Like even on this road, this country road, I'm doing the speed limit. I'm not trying to push it. But this is a comfortable ride. Even now doing 70. I mean, I hate these little tar snakes all over the ground. I can feel them every time I hit them. But like I have no problem. I mean, I'm only doing 70 and a 55, and there's a nice turn here, and I slow down. This is kind of a residential area. But yeah, great bike, lovely bike. You want a good sport bike that can do some distance? This is your ride right here. Anyway, now I'm rambling, so I think the review is done, the riding review. Get a Ninja. If you want a good sport bike that can do some miles, this is your one. Like I said, I can't say it too many times. So, with that, I'll bid you a farewell. Keep the rubber side down while you're riding. Ride safe. I'll see you next time. Take care.